All right. That's awesome.
Big home run.
Yeah, I tell you, that it's really hard to make Andy look good on video, isn't it? Super hard. We had to look for those little moments, those little glimpses of athleticism and confidence, honestly.
Hey, we had a stretch, though, where for about a 2-week period, I think I was the best hitter on the Houston Astros team. That's what I tell everybody.
Tell you, on the video game, you can have Andy against Andy, by the way. You can work that thing out, and you're a lot easier to strike out than to hit, by the way, playing Andy on Andy.
Yeah, it was better hitting it over the fence. When Tal Hills was there, I hit one on top of Tal Hill, and I was going for a triple. And I came around second base, and everybody said I was moving pretty good. And then all of a sudden, it was like a gorilla jumped on my back when I ran around second. I was trying to go to third. I got thrown out at third base. And the next day I went out and got knocked out of the game. I gave up 5 runs and got pulled. So I never tried to stretch another triple out. So.
Stretching those triples.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, I'd love to go back because we sort of got introduced to Andy Pettitte like 1995. He sort of breaks onto the scene, runner-up to Rookie of the Year. And man, from then on, it was like pedal to the metal, and you were Andy Pettitte. You were playing, doing great. But tell us a little bit about the family you grew up in. Tell us about home life and Little League sports and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot of sports. I loved baseball. I was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I lived there until I was 10 years old. My dad was a police officer there. Mom was just stay-at-home mom, which is obviously not just extremely important, but just love sports, you know. The interesting part is when I was in Baton Rouge and I was growing up, softball was big there. So I was actually an underhand softball pitcher to kind of start out my baseball career or softball career. And then we moved to Texas when I was 10 years old. My dad, got a job at a chemical plant. I grew up in Deer Park, Texas. Moved to this side of town 10 years ago when I retired and started coaching high school baseball here on this side of town. But I grew up in a great family. My parents, loved us, treated us wonderful, did everything they could for us. And my dad was an extremely hard worker, and we ended up moving to Texas, like I said, when I was 10 years old, and got involved in baseball, and that's when I started pitching. And my dad did everything he could to help me be the best that I could. He built me a homemade pitcher's mound that sat on the side of our house over in Deer Park, and he would catch me when he came home from work. And I loved baseball, and they loved watching us do our thing. My sister, 3 years older than me, she wasn't into sports very much, and so we did a lot of sports with me. I grew up playing baseball, basketball, and football. Played all those sports up until high school. Played football until my sophomore year in high school and decided to retire from that. I was 5'6" my sophomore year in high school, and played nose guard, so I didn't think I had much of a future in football. So
I scanned the internet, and I think I have a photo. Honestly, let me see. I think I found a photo of you, and your kids maybe haven't even seen this photo. We'll see.
Uh-oh.
Look at that.
Oh, there we go.
That's Andy Pettitte. That is Andy Pettitte. And who is that?
Yeah, that's my bride. That's a little bit of that was when I got my growth spurt. So we actually, a year before that, I have a picture where we're the exact same height, which is, I know you were looking for that when we couldn't find it, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's 16-year-old Andy Pettitte right there.
Well, man, so you stopped football because you were, you said 5'6"?
Yeah.
What about basketball?
Yeah, I stopped that when I got to high school. It just wasn't moving very fast. Y'all see this lower half I got. I just didn't move very good, and
stretching
it was hard
those
to
triples.
get me, and I couldn't get the weight off the ground high enough to get rebounds. So after my sophomore year in high school, just went straight baseball.
Man. Well, there's a lot of Little League baseball players in here. I'm looking around here, and there are a lot of dads of Little League baseball players in here. What would you say to Little League Andy Pettitte, looking back now, 8 years now? Is 8 years since you were just a little kid?
That's always a tough question. I mean, I think just probably just try to enjoy your time, just really. When I came up, it was so different, right? Because there wasn't social media. There wasn't, I feel like, the pressure. Now I've been in it. I've got 3 boys. 29, 26, I think. My daughter's 23, and then my youngest is 18 at Dallas Baptist playing. And, you know, for me, it was just like, just go out and have fun. I hope that that's the way they felt, you know. But I just feel like that nowadays there's just so much emphasis on wanting to be so good and wanting to be great. And I love that. But I also feel like, in a sense, it takes away from the joy of some of these young men can have. And I've just seen that because, like I said, 10 years ago when I retired, I started coaching high school baseball, and I just saw the pressure of some of these freshmen and sophomores that were coming into our program, that the parents had these expectations of, like, we've spent so much money on pitching lessons and hitting lessons and this and that, and it's a lot for the kids to endure, really and truly, instead of just let them grow, let them have fun, let's see where the game takes them. And so, you know, that would be my advice, you know, that God's either going to bless you with the talent to be able to do it and to be able to continue to play or go on, play in high school and go on to play college, or really he's not. And believe me, you should work hard. You should work your tail off, you know. But whenever you start talking about getting into pros and stuff like that, you really have to be blessed by God to be able to have the ability to do that, just like in any other sport or any other, you know, a business world or whatever. You know, everyone has their gifts that God's given them.
So you're a dad. You've done the obviously you've done the little league thing. You've done the club team thing. You've done the high school. You've done the college thing with your kids. What advice would you give to dads if their kids are in the sport world? And it might not be baseball. It could be anything. They could have a daughter that's in volleyball or gymnastics. How do you keep perspective as a dad? I know you're competitive.
Yeah.
I know you love to win.
Yeah.
So as a dad, you got to love to see your kids do really well. So how do you keep perspective?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. And you know, I'm sitting here thinking that's too tough of a question for this dummy to answer. You know, it's kind of what I want to share. But I mean, I just think that you need to try to enjoy the time with your kid. And when I'm saying this, I'm pointing fingers right at myself, right? Because I coached 2 of my boys in high school, and I know at times how hard I could be on them. And I've had to back up and say, hang on, like, have a little perspective here, right? This game is difficult. He's always not going to be perfect. He's always not going to get the big hit when he needs to or make the big pitch when he needs to. And so really and truly, yeah, I think it's just trying to take a deep breath and backing off and again, just realizing that, you know, God's got it. God's got them, and the more we push and the more we want, sometimes I feel like that you do a disservice to your kid. And so I think just encouragement, love, and support, obviously, and I know my kids, I want them to work hard. I want them to work their tails off. I don't want, and I've told this over and over, don't let anybody outwork you. You know, that was the way that I was brought up by my dad. And so I'm not trying to say don't instill certain things or traits in them that you want to, but, you know, just in some sense, just kind of back off and let it happen if it's going to happen. I just tell you, I mean, I didn't send my kids to anything. I have my son Luke is pitching at Dallas Baptist. He's a freshman. I'm not trying to brag on him, but he just got stuck in the starting rotation, and he's never been to a lesson with anyone. You know, I mean, it's just like I just didn't do that. He's never had lessons. I just let him go and play. Go be a ball player. That's what I would tell him. Go be a ball player. Go play the game. Go have fun, you know. And again, I rode him pretty hard. Obviously, I was his coach at times. But, you know, it was just like it wasn't practice and then we're going for 2 hours of batting practice somewhere or going, you know, to another, you know, coach or whatever. And again, I mean, I know he's my son. He grew up around the game, and obviously he has an advantage with that. And obviously God's blessed him with the talent to be able to do what he's doing. But I just think that sometimes we can make it way too confusing for these kids.
Yeah, man, that's great advice. I appreciate that. I know you played a long time. There could be some moments. I know as we've talked, there were several moments you just said, hey, these are some highlight moments of my career. I'd love to hear you share some of those. Let these guys hear some of your highlight moments.
Yeah, you know, when I think about the highlight moments, obviously for me, it was a dream to make it to the big leagues. You know, when I was a young kid in high school, I felt like I had some talent, and I just started having this dream of, man, how awesome would it be to make it to the big league? So 1995, I made the big league roster with the New York Yankees, and so that was an amazing highlight in my career. I didn't get to play opening day. I didn't pitch that day. I was kind of an add-on, to the roster because we had a strike year the year before. So spring training started late, and they carried a couple of extra pitchers, and I was one of them. But I'll never forget sitting out in the outfield at Yankee Stadium and being out there going, my goodness, I made it to the big leagues, and it was beautiful. So that was a super, great highlight. Of course, other highlights is being able to make it to the big leagues, but then being able to get thrown, that year in 95 right into the fire. We had a couple of injuries, and I went right into the rotation. And then in 96, we made it to the World Series and got to win my first championship with New York. And so that was obviously a huge highlight.
I pulled one of the games. I didn't pull game one.
Yeah.
Why would you not want me to pull game one?
Yeah, game one wasn't, and since you're a Braves fan, I know you were probably loving it. I think I gave up 7 runs to the Atlanta Braves in 2 2/3 inning. Man, what a stinker I laid. I got a chance to start game one in New York. I think it had been 20 years since they had been to a World Series, and Joe Torre, after I was able to, pitch the clinching game against Baltimore in the ALCS, and I was like, man, we got these other veteran pitchers, they're going to pitch before me. I just pitched game 5. I'm going to pitch game 4, because we have 3 other starters. Well, we wrapped the series up against Baltimore super quick, and we're flying back to New York, and he calls me to the front of the plane, and he says, how would you like to start game 1 of the World Series? That was my 5th day to start game 1 of the World Series. And so I was like, holy smokes. I was like, well, of course, I would love to. That'd be amazing. I totally regretted it in the 3rd inning whenever it was 7-0. And I was getting booed off the field, And I mean, so that was tough to swallow, but praise God, I was able to pitch a good game in Game 5.
I do have Game 5, and it's painful for me to watch it, but I want to respect and honor my brother in Christ. So we've got a little Game 5 highlight action here.
That is a huge number. But Pettitte gets the strikeout. That he doesn't want to happen here. 1-2 pitch, and he's got Lemke. So all 5 hitters in this game who have come to the plate have struck out. Runner goes, and got him picked off. Fielder throw to Jeter. Big play. Andy Pettitte, who led the majors with 11 pickoffs.
When you're pitching against a team twice in a week.
Gets him to chase it. 1-2 delivered to him. Breaking ball. Strike 3 call. And
might have been a little low.
Close. This one he gets down. Pettitte looks to third. Force play. They got it. Outstanding play by Andy Pettitte.
A gutsy play by Pettitte. The bare hand grab and then throw to Charlie Hayes.
Yeah, I can't. Soft, people, soft. They're Braves fan in this room as well. So the first time I met Andy, all I could remember was Game 5. That erased the memory of Game 1. So I meet him, and I was like, I hate you. I was like, you ruined my team's playoff. Like Atlanta was the best runner-up team always in the 90s. And a large measure of that was the Yankees and stuff. So it's painful to watch that, but yeah, congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you. No, so that was obviously a huge highlight. We went on. We didn't wrap it up right there. We went to Yankee Stadium. We flew back home, and then we won Game 6. So that was awesome. And obviously the highlights, all the World Series. I was able to win 5 of them. 2009 was very special because we had an 8-year stretch where we hadn't won one. I think it was 8 years, and we were all old. The group that we had, we were too old to win supposedly, and we were able to get another one in 2009. So that was special. But and then also to be able to come here to Houston for 3 years. When the Yankees let me go, had a chance to go play with about 6 or 7 other teams, but just felt like the Lord was calling me home. And if I was going to go anywhere, it was going to be in Houston where I could be around my family and my friends. And so decided to come to Houston. Thought they had a great team and wanted to help them win, and we were able to win a playoff series. When I came, we hadn't won a playoff series in franchise history, and then obviously the dream was to win a championship, and we got there, but unfortunately in 2005 we came up short. So that was a very special moment also. Yeah.
Any other? I've got another video clip.
Yeah.
If I could show it, maybe then you can tell us about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you. I'm just going to throw you a curveball. I'm just going to play it.
Yeah, let's go. This is cool. Cool moment.
How's this for drama?
So good.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. As y'all can see, I didn't know what to do. I started kissing him on the forehead, kissing him on the side. I was patting him. That was this, man, I was so blessed at the end of my career, my last season, the last month of my career, and I'll talk about it in a minute, but two of just my, great highlights in my career. And that was one. That's one of my favorite highlights. Y'all see that. Me and Mariano had been together since I was 19 years old. I signed with the Yankees. And we had been, we'd been to each other. I think I was 41 when I retired. I believe that's what it was. I can't even remember exactly. Either 41 or 42. So a lot of years of being together. He is a strong believer. He's a brother in Christ. I love him like he's a brother of mine. And so that's what that was right there. It's pretty cool, And I was expecting to go out there and just give him a hug and let him hug Jeter or whatever. And then he just bawling like a baby right there. And so I did not know. We got 57,000 people, and I'm going, dude, what do I do here, Derek? I'm like looking at Derek like, what do I do? And I'm just like patting him, kissing him on the head.
Yeah, the old adage is if you don't know what to do, kiss him.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that's the old.
Definitely awkward. But it was such a cool moment. When that game started, Joe Girardi came to me and Derek and said, hey, if Mo gets in this game, I want you guys to go out there and pull him. And me and Derek looked at each other. We looked at each other like, are you crazy? Like Derek's real similar to me personality. Like just kind of just want to stay in the background. I'm like, I've never seen a player go out and pull another player out of the game. Like I've never seen that before. I'm like, we're not going to do that. Are you crazy? And so anyhow, we're sitting there on the bench for the next 5 innings, and every player is going, are you stupid? You got to go out there and do that. You know what I mean? Like y'all have to go do that. So anyhow, we were talked into doing it, and thank the Lord, because that was one of the greatest moments ever for me. So it's cool.
That's great. Are there any other highlights?
Yeah,
I know we talked about another one. I actually found that.
It was a highlight for me. My last, I was able to make my last start of my career was here in Houston, and God I feel like God just worked it out. I had pitched in Yankee Stadium. And we thought we had a great chance of going to the playoffs, and we ended up getting eliminated the day before I pitched in this outing. And Joe, again, Girardi came to me and said, hey, you want your last start to be in Yankee Stadium? We missed the playoffs, which was unfortunate. But he said, if you want to start tomorrow here, you can, And really, I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm done. Like my last start in New York, that's the way it should have been, threw the ball pretty good, and I think I got a loss, but I threw well. And then, so anyhow, I was like, well, maybe it'd be cool to start, So made my last start in Houston, and I threw a complete game. And I had not thrown a complete game in 7 years. And so is there a God or what, right? I mean, like, that's a miracle. He's still in the miracle working business, right? And so anyhow, just a cool moment. The stadium, like after the game was over, like my teammates pushed me back on the field, and the whole crowd was chanting my name in Houston, and so I'm just like, this is ridiculous, So it was, for me, it was a God thing, and I thank God for that moment. It was a special moment in my career.
Yeah, I'm not going to show that clip. We've got that clip, but I want to get to some other things, and so your journey in, and again, my introduction to you was your rookie season in the big leagues, but I didn't even know until we were talking a couple of months ago that you weren't drafted in a high draft. So,
Right.
so tell us about draft. Tell us about that experience, trying to get into, and you call it the big leagues. I thought big leagues were like single A, double A, triple A. The big leagues is the big leagues,
Yeah.
and so we're not talking that. So tell us about your journey up to the big leagues.
Yeah, so I was drafted out of high school in the 22nd round, and I didn't sign. I had signed with the University of Texas, was going to go play there, but then when I got drafted, my parents really didn't push school, so I decided to go to junior college for 1 year. When I graduated, I was 17 years old. My dad was like, maybe you go to college and you get a little bit bigger and stronger and you mature a little bit, and that's exactly what happened for me. And so I went to junior college, worked hard. I had a coach there that really pushed me and really influenced me as far as work ethic and stuff like that. Wayne Graham, I'm sure most of you guys, if y'all follow baseball, have heard of him. He was at Rice and did an unbelievable job there. He left San Jack the year after I was there and went to Rice. But so wasn't drafted super high, but the next year was able to sign with the Yankees. There was a rule called draft and follow, which is too hard to explain, but the Yankees had the rights to me where I didn't go in the next year's draft. I ended up signing as a free agent and just got in the mix there in the minor leagues and was able to just really be consistent and really continue to grow as a pitcher and kind of walk through the minor leagues and be able to obviously get to the big leagues.
So being drafted 22nd round at A, as I didn't know there was one, and when you told me that, I was like, I looked it up. I was like, okay, he wasn't lying, because trust but verify.
Yeah.
And so I was surprised. So to me, that doesn't seem like, man, I've got all the confidence in the world.
Right.
I know I've got this.
Yeah.
It seems like that's a long shot, Andy. 22nd round. So where mentally, did you have peace? Did you have doubts? That journey?
Yeah.
Did you know you have it?
So there's no doubt about it. I knew that was out of high school. I didn't throw very hard. I topped out at 85, 86 miles an hour. And just a little something in here for the young kids. I definitely want to hit on. My sophomore year in high school, 2 or 3 of the players that I grew up with in Little League ball that, we played together all the way up. And I thought I was just as good as a pitcher and I was, would play against them and I would have success and stuff like that. But my sophomore year in high school, several of those guys were on the varsity team. And, nowadays, I don't know how it works exactly. We had a JV team at Second Baptist when I coached high school ball, and we had a varsity. Well, back then, we had a sophomore JV and a varsity team at the school I went to. So my freshman year, you always have freshman year, you're on the sophomore team. That's usually how it is. Your sophomore year, you're usually on JV, and then your, junior year and senior, you're usually on varsity. Well, my sophomore year, I was still on the sophomore team. Extremely discouraged. I literally thought, I was like almost thinking like I should just quit baseball. If I'm still on the sophomore team and everybody that I played with are on varsity already, I'm so far behind, so just want to encourage young kids, let yourself grow. Let's see where, God takes you, don't bail on stuff, too quick. Cause I could have done that, and you never know how things are going to work out for you. But anyhow, so yeah, I got to speed this up, I got to San Jack, I matured, I got bigger, I got stronger, I had a coach that really pushed me, and my velocity went up. And I was throwing 90, 91, 92 at San Jack when I got out of there. And so really that set me up to be a lot better. I had learned how to pitch because I didn't have great velocity. I had to learn how to throw change-ups and curveballs and how to figure out how to get guys out. And then when the velocity came, it really helped me out tremendous, And so the confidence wasn't great, I guess I'd say, coming out of high school. But I had great years my junior year and senior year in high school. But when I got, into the minor league ball, I was really rolling and had a lot of success and really was able to command the strike zone. And I threw a lot of strikes. And so my confidence just kept building.
So your first stop in the minor leagues, were you married at that point?
I was not. No.
Okay, so how old were you again?
So 19 years old. Yeah.
And was that when you went to Tampa?
Went to Tampa, Florida.
Tell us about the transition then. You're moving from home.
Yeah.
not married yet.
Yeah.
Lots of temptations probably. And now you land in Tampa. What's the mindset? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
You're a teenager among men.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the good thing is, obviously, they send in Tampa where they sent me, they sent a lot of the younger players. That's where they sent us. But yeah, my mindset, I'd never been away from, home really before. And my mindset, my first thing was, I got to find a church to get involved in. And it really was. So that was priority number one. And God really, blessed me, with that. One of my pitching coaches there, I started asking around and trying to figure out, if anybody knew of a good church, a church that I could try or whatever. And I found a church there called Idlewild Baptist, who the pastor is Pastor Ken Witten. I know Pastor Greg knows him real well. Pastor Ken, I'm 19 years old. I go to his church. I meet him, and he is, to this day, like a second father to me. So that's the kind of, that's how God, I feel like his hand was on me and in my career to be able to have, right when I get to Tampa, to be able to meet a man like that and a godly man to just influence me and help me to carry, throughout my baseball career, through the good times, through the bad times. And so, that was really one of the first things that I did.
That's great. And I know you grew up in a church setting.
Yeah.
Was that? I think you and Laura met at Deer Park, right?
Yeah. My wife's a PK. So I met her when I was 15 years old. Her father was a pastor. All of her brothers were pastors, and I had to mind my P's and Q's. That's for sure. Walking into that family, but yeah, church. I thank the Lord from a young age. Church was extremely important to me. I accepted Jesus when I was 11 years old. I was raised in church. My parents always took me to church, but I never had someone preach to me and preach the gospel to me until I was 11 years old. I heard that I was a sinner and I needed a Savior, and I needed to ask Jesus Christ into my heart and asked him to forgive me. And that was the first time I had really ever heard that. And man, when I heard that, I walked the aisles and accepted Jesus whenever I was 11 years old. And so church was a huge, part of my life. Me and Laura were extremely involved in church. Whenever I'd come home from the off seasons and stuff like that, we'd serve in the church. We'd do whatever we could to obviously continue to grow in our walk and in our faith. That was a huge part of what we did. And of course, there's not a whole lot of options whenever my father-in-law is the pastor and all the brother-in-laws are preachers and involved in the church. But just loved it. The church is extremely important to us, and I feel like it's extremely important to be a body of believers always.
I know. We think of pros and we think of celebrity and we think of, man, you got all the money you need. But your journey in the minor leagues was sort of the opposite of that. I had no idea what minor leagues were like until you started sharing some of your stories about you and Laura moving and splitting rooms and all this stuff. So tell us a little bit about what that was like, starting a marriage out on that minor league salary.
Yeah.
And
definitely. If anybody thinks the minor leagues is glamorous, it's not. So it's. If you've seen movies and you see how tough it could be, that's exactly how it was. God bless my wife. I mean, that's all I could say. Our first year that she was with me, we had 2 U-Haul trailers, my parents, and then I pulled one, and we packed up our beds and everything, all Laura's decorations that she wanted for this little, apartment that we were going to have in Prince William, Virginia. And we decorated it, beautifully, and it was nice, and we lived there, and it was all great. And then at the end of that season, I got a call one morning and said I was going to Albany, New York, and my wife is stuck in Prince Williams, Virginia, with all of this stuff, right, that we had toted up there. And she was by herself. And so my parents and her parents had to load up, come and get her moved, and get her back to Houston. And we kind of learned our lesson from there, right? So the next year in Albany, New York, we had an air mattress. She was pregnant, and that's what we were sleeping on, And our furniture we did rent a couch, and our end tables were our boxes that we had shipped up there and stuff like that, because you got to be ready to move. If I got sent down, if I got sent up, you got to be ready to be on the move. And so that is the life we lived. I mean, on the road, my wife would get in our pickup truck and she would follow the bus. And, when I was in AA, we had another couple there that was married. And unfortunately, we doubled up. The Yankees didn't pay for our hotel rooms, and I didn't have the money to get our own room. And we slept in one twin bed, and Mark and Jody Hubbard slept in the other twin bed, and they made peanut butter jelly sandwiches and put a cooler in my truck, and they followed us, and that's the way we did it, and it was pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, me and Laura still just talk about it, and we're like, man, those were good old days, and so definitely not glamorous, long bus rides, but man, you just look back on it and you feel like God just kind of gives you everything that you need to kind of prepare you for what's ahead of you.
So you make that statement that God sort of prepared you for that next step into the big leagues there in the minor leagues. I mean, what would be was there one or two lessons or things that really stuck with you from that time that allowed you to be the young guy in the clubhouse that we're getting ready to hear about that didn't get any respect, that allowed you to stand in that season? Like what?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just the whole journey, did the year and a half that I was there without, Laura in the minor leagues, when I was at San Jack, I would say all of it, prepared me for what was ahead, just because I was kind of on an island a little bit as far as, the things that I was going to do and the things that I was going to be around and what I wasn't going to be around, and so you had to be good with going back to the hotel room and being by yourself, or being kind of have a little sly comments thrown your way as far as what you wanted to do or how you were going to live your life.
Was there pressure to go out? Was there pressure to chase women? Was there pressure to go to clubs? Like was there any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that at a young age, and even in high school, I think, for God just gave me the ability to be like, I didn't care. I didn't care what people thought of me. I didn't care if people didn't think I wasn't cool. That I was just going to live the way that I felt like God wanted me to live, So I would be lying if I said that there wasn't some pressure, the most of the pressure I remember feeling was my rookie year in the big leagues, and even in the minors some. I was kind of the chapel leader, right? Everybody knew that I was a believer. I was very, vocal about my faith. And, when you had to walk around the room and say, hey, we got chapel in 5 minutes, and everybody's like looking at you like, shut up, dude. You know what I mean? Like, we were just, minor leagues was crazy. I mean, most of those guys are out trying to chase women and doing whatever they, doing the things that men want to do to have fun. And they really, don't like for you to walk around and, say chapels in 5 minutes, I guess.
How did that change, though? I mean, so you're walking around, you're inviting, but at some point, men are men, and men respond to quality and winning. And so was that, part of it?
Yeah, again, and people might think too, when you get to the big leagues, it's all glamorous, and nowadays it's completely different. I work with the Yankees and I'm in the locker room, but when I came up to the big leagues in 1995, if you were a rookie, you were a zero. Like, you didn't say anything, you didn't talk. My manager, he would be in the same room with me. He never spoke to me. I never spoke to my manager. The one time I remember speaking to him, he called me into the office at the end of the season and said, hey, we're going to a 4-man rotation. You're going to pitch every 4th day, instead of every 5th day. So that was, that was kind of how it was. And it was real similar. The players, were real similar that way. And then, of course, my rookie year, I get thrown into the fire. And I'm in the starting rotation, and I have a really good rookie year. And you can see as the season goes on then all of a sudden, you're like, this guy's a huge part of what we're doing, and you get a little bit more respect, And then, of course, 96, I had a great year, was up to win a Cy Young, and then, of course, we win a championship. And then you feel like that, and I hate that, but you feel like that you carry a little bit of weight where you can kind of be a little bit more vocal and feel like you can, say a little bit more stuff with people respecting it.
Did you see any fruit from that, or was some of that you just you share, you make a statement, you keep your head on, you succeed on the field, and then years later you hear something, or did you actually see fruit? Because I know sometimes ministry, you can love somebody well and encourage them, and you don't see anything for a long time. And parenting, feels that way sometimes.
Yeah, no doubt. So to answer your question, both. So many guys that I played with when I was early in my career, I'll see them now, and a lot of them apologize to me for how they were, But there was. I mean, God was so faithful to always, when you get discouraged, to encourage you with something, right? And I mean, when you feel like, why am I doing this? You might have a guy come and talk to you about, hey, how do you deal with this? I see, how you handle yourself, and so, but, God was always faithful to help me with that. And God was always faithful, if there wasn't a whole lot, to put another believer, someone around me that could be by my side and walk through the seasons, and you always, going into each year, you always pray out and be like, Lord, give me somebody, that I can walk alongside with in this. And of course, I had Mo, he was there, but just a lot of guys each year that God put next to me that really, helped me to be able to just have someone to challenge each other with, and some of our, a few of our greatest teams that we played on, we had a strong group of believers, and I really thank God for that. And I really believe that that's a reason why I believe God's hand was on some of our teams with our group of believers, and really honored what we were doing, and really blessed us.
Got a curveball for you. I know we're going to have a few of these. There's probably someone in this room that works in a job, and they feel like they're the only Christian in the whole place. So, I mean, you mentioned there were a couple of guys. When you didn't feel the presence of, hey, all these guys are encouraging me, where did you look, or what would be your advice if you feel like you're the only one in the office that's trying to walk with Christ? Because corporate America today is very different than it was 30, 40 years ago. Yeah. What would be your advice to a young guy in corporate America or someone else?
Yeah, I mean, I would just encourage you to stay the course. Like we're supposed to look different. That's what I would just challenge you more than anything. Is if you're a believer, and that's what I would keep telling myself is I'm supposed to look different, and it's not supposed to be easy. Like the Bible tells us that living this Christian faith, that there's going to be heartaches and there's going to be turmoil. And I knew that I lost friends, and that might be another reason, just at an early age, I lost friends over my relationship with Jesus. There was just stuff that I wasn't going to go and do, and so that's what I would say.
Do you regret losing those friends for standing for Christ?
No, not at all. I mean, obviously you don't want to lose friendships, but I think God knows exactly what you need and who you need in your life, and he, where one door shuts with someone, I think he opens other doors with others.
That's great. I'm looking at our clock here. I know we've had multiple 2-hour breakfasts in preparation for this, and I sent him a document the other night, and it's just really long. So we've touched, but we're gonna.
Are we out of time?
No.
Oh,
dude.
okay.
But hey, there's some stuff that I think we need to get to, and we're gonna skip some of the low points in your career. And if you want to know about him, Andy loves to write long, flowing letters. And anyway, maybe we could do an interview and just record it and put it on the Men's Ministry YouTube channel, something like that. Or we put it on the app.
Okay.
And I'd love to talk about your low points.
Okay.
But let's move on in here. let's talk, if we can, a little bit about the transition from pros to civilian life. It didn't seem to be very difficult for you, but I watch other athletes, and it's like devastating to them. They sit there at the microphone, they cry for forever, and the next thing you know, they're in the newspaper and they're having problems. And yet it looked like you made the transition from front page of Sports Illustrated and all this other stuff to being a dad and being Andy Pettitte that we know now. Tell us about that journey, that transition that you went through.
Yeah, so I actually, if you follow my career, I retired once, and then I came back and played again. So in 2010, I retired from the Yankees, and man, really and truly, it couldn't have been more evident to me that I needed to retire. I literally was pitching against the Rangers. I think it was the Rangers in New York, and I'm in our weight room at Yankee Stadium, and I started listening. Early in my career, I listened to Rocky, music to get me to run through a wall. The last 5 years of my career, and especially at 41 or however old, at 40, I started listening to the Christian channel. I'm trying to remember what it was. And so this song, I remember like it was yesterday, called Lead Me, came on. And literally God was saying, dude, when this season's over, you need to go home. You need
that guy right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
you need to be with your kids. You know what I mean? Like literally God was saying, dude, have you raised your boys to be the men that they need to be? And really had a burden in my heart because I was gone so much. Towards the end of my career, the kids would go home because they're involved in all their sports. Early in my career, they were with me all the time, and they traveled and they were with me the whole time. But my last 4 or 5 years, they wanted to be home. They wanted to do their things. And so anyhow, retired, and it was wonderful. We were loving life, doing the things that I wanted to do, and got to see my boys, got to see them play. I had missed a lot of their baseball. And then at the end of the season, after the Yankees got knocked out of the playoffs, they called and asked if I would consider coming back. And so, I started praying about it with my wife and with my family and talking to the boys about it. And, of course, ended up going back and then, ended up playing for 2 more years. And it was wonderful. And, man, God's hand was just right in it. But when I retired in 13, y'all saw the last couple of things, the highlights of my career. I was just like, I was at such peace with it. I was like, God couldn't end this any better for me. And so I think that's why it was just so perfect for me. And then just to transition into, I knew that I wanted to be involved in coaching. And, I loved, being around being around kids. And I wanted to try to impact kids. And, it was a huge help for me. I got a call from, Dr. Young at Second Baptist and asked me if I would consider helping, the baseball program out at Second Baptist. And I mean, in a matter of a month, it was like we packed up from Deer Park, who had been there our whole lives, and moved over to this side of town. And I coached there for 8 years at Second Baptist. And so it was a very easy transition for me. The game was never, that wasn't my identity. I never looked at it as that. I wanted to be great. I wanted to be the best pitcher that there was. And I wanted to win. I had a desire to win like no other, I feel like. I mean, if I got a championship, I wanted another one. I mean, it burned inside of me. But it wasn't my identity. I mean, when it was over, when I was out of it, it was like, it's good. I mean, I got 5 World Series rings, and I don't even know if I've ever put one on, to tell you the truth. I mean, I just you get them and I just put them I put them up on the shelf. Like, it's great. But so it just wasn't hard for me. And you'll hear me say this a lot. I just think God just carried me right through that and just gave me a wonderful peace about making decisions.
I know that you're a humble man. You're a steady type of person. You're not a flashy person, and you don't get flustered by much at all. And I know that sometimes we marry our opposite. Sometimes we can marry somebody that has more emotion than we have. And so there are probably men in this room, and I'm one of them as well, that sometimes marriage can, let's talk about marriage just a little bit. I'm looking at the time, and I'm like, I wanted us to touch on a couple of topics. And
I don't know if we have enough time on marriage.
Well, actually, Andy, this is an intervention. Laura, come on in here. And where's Adam Mason? We've got him. No, sorry. I'm not going to do that to you, dude.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit, if you're comfortable with that, just on marriage. You spend a lot of time on the road. Laura was with you when you were younger, but as you get kids, they really can't travel as much and do all that. How'd you stay connected? And then when you went from I'm gone a lot to now I'm home a lot, I know that my father-in-law, when he retired, he was like, man, I sort of miss going into the office, because it was just a lot of time that they hadn't been together. So talk about the relationship, what's gone easy, what's been challenging, any advice for us? We all want to have good marriages.
Yeah.
I know you do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's my poor wife, God bless her, from the standpoint of just, New York and that life and, being who I was coming up in that organization. And again, the attention that I got and she's at home being, just a rock star, raising the kids and taking care of the family. And so, her faith carried her through that, right? Like it wasn't easy. My first year in the big leagues, I was in a hotel room and I was going down, trying to make phone calls with my roommate where he's calling his wife and I'm calling my wife, and we're trying to get to a phone where you can, make a call, and, she's talking to me about the kids and if they're doing stuff good, or how horrible Josh was being, or if he was going to be, good or bad. But, I want to be a great husband, and that's not an easy thing, for me to do a lot of times in my relationship with Laura. I'll just flat out admit that to you. I'm not as sensitive as I need to be sometimes when she needs sensitivity. And I'm constantly, if there's something I'm asking God to help me with, is the things that my wife needs, is like, Lord, show me and help me to be able to handle this and to show her what she needs. Because, obviously you go through life and you have the kids, and that takes a lot of our time and a lot of our attention with just running back and forth. We had 4 kids, and, life gets so busy. But like you said, now we're out of baseball. The kids are all out of the house. It's me and her. And, there's a lot of stuff that gets thrown at you. There's a lot of stuff that life throws at you. We're getting at an age where, I know there was some low points, but I would love just for y'all to hear this. During COVID, we lost Laura's parents both on the same day. They both had COVID, went into the hospital the same day, and 10 days later, they both died within a couple of hours of each other. And so, so just like to be a husband, to be able to help my wife, walk through that and what to say. And most of the time, and this just when I've talked to you, I feel like I don't do a very good job at all eloquently saying what I feel like I want to say. Actually, most of the time, whenever I say something to her, I feel like we get in an argument because I said it the wrong way. I don't know if you guys experience that, but that's where my life is. Like literally from the bottom of my heart, I'm trying to be good here. And somehow I've made her mad. And I don't know. Maybe I need counseling. So you're asking the wrong guy. Now, I'm being way too honest right there now. So
no, you're being Andy Pettitte.
Anyhow,
man, you're being real.
I can honestly tell you, look, I asked God to help me to be the kind of husband that I need to be and that I want to be. And I love my wife literally more today, from the bottom of my heart, more today than I did on the day I met her. I really do. And that's through all the arguments, that's through fights, that's through the good times, that's through the bad times. But my wife is who God gave me, and I am going to love her no matter what. And that's our responsibility as a man, right? Like, is to love our wife. Like, we're not always going to love exactly what she does. We're always going to have issues. We're not perfect people, but it's God wants us to love our wives through thick and thin, no matter what, And so I feel like now I'm rambling a little bit, but that would be the best advice that I could give, I guess.
That's great. I'm going to ask you one question, then I'm going to let you have sort of a space to just say what you would love to say to any man in here, just if you were sitting down with them one-on-one and you just wanted to say, hey, let me just tell you as straight as I can, man to man, let me just tell you something. But before we get there, you've mentioned church, you've mentioned prayer, faith, trusting God. And we hear those words in our culture in different ways. We even, Kanye West says these very same words as well. So we hear them, but when you say them, just tell us, what is that relationship with Christ that you're talking about? What is it built on? If somebody didn't have a relationship with Christ, how could they? Does that make sense? That might be a really softly worded. I'm so sorry, dude. I told you I wouldn't do good at this.
No, I think I got where you're going.
If you hit this ball, I'd be so proud of you, Andy. If you hit this ball.
I think just, trusting in Jesus and trusting that he has a plan in our lives. And if we're believers, we're going to want to grow closer to him. And that takes work. It takes effort, just like anything else, And so, I would encourage you to spend time in the Word of God, I know I wake up early every morning and I try to spend time with Jesus. I've been doing that since I was a young man, and I think that's where kind of the bread and butter of my relationship with Jesus really comes from, is trying to spend quality time with him, whether it's doing, I've talked to you before, devotionals. I grew up, reading all of Tony Dungy's devotionals, Tony Evans, devotionals. Pastor Greg's got his devotionals that I'm trying to just think of, right now I've gotten on a kick with, I'm spending time with a pastor that I just found. I don't even know how I found him, but James Merritt. He's a pastor out of Atlanta, and I'm reading his devotionals and listening to his sermons over like the last 2 years. That's who I've, been spending a lot of time listening to also. And so, man, I just think if you invest in trying to figure out where God wants to lead you, or if you want God to work on your heart, he's going to lead you right to where he wants you, and he's going to lead you to the people that are going to be able to impact your life and help you grow in your walk with Jesus. I don't know if I answered your question at all.
It was great. It was great. Just wind up Andy and let him go, dude. That's what I'm wanting to do. So, hey, if you could say one thing to every man here about life from your perspective, because I know, men love winners. I know you love to win. I know you've probably redefined a win since you've retired. Maybe it was even the same win even when you were in baseball, but. We were in my office praying about tonight, and you were just like, man, I just want to tell them this, and this is that moment right now.
Okay.
All right. I can't get it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it. Toss that ball up there, smack it.
Yeah. So look, I loved winning. I talked to y'all about that. I love winning, but winning it wasn't everything to me. And so it was very important, but it wasn't everything. And so I guess what I would want to share with you guys is, and almost a challenge is Jesus Christ your everything? There's so many things in life that are important to us and that we can make important. We can make baseball too important, right? You can make your job too important. We can make exercise important. being a good husband, being a good father, being a good dad. But what is Jesus Christ the most important thing in your life? That is what I would ask you. That is what I would want to challenge you with. Some of you may be sitting here tonight and you're thinking to yourself, he's important, but he's not that important, you know? I would challenge you, if you know him and you want to grow and you want to be a more godly man, make him the most important thing in your life. I promise you, you won't regret it. And if you don't know him, I pray that you will know him, and you will come to know him and come to know and have a serious, just true relationship with Jesus Christ. He'll change your life. You know, we're a week away from Easter. Easter's next weekend. I mean, for Christians, man, we're talking baseball. That's the World Series for us, you know. I mean, Jesus Christ died on a cross. We believe that, right? And he rose again. If he would have died and he wouldn't have rose again, he would have just been another teacher. He'd have just been another prophet. But thank the Lord, he rose again, and he is King of all kings. And he is worthy of being praised and being honored, and you know, he is what it's all about. So for me, that is what I really, you know, to wrap this whole thing up from my point of view. We could talk about all this, but the main reason why I came here is because Jesus Christ changed my life. He changed my life. When I accepted him, changed my life. Doesn't mean I'm perfect, still screw up all the time, but I know that I'm going to spend eternity in heaven with him. And I hope and pray that each and every one of you guys know that. And if you don't, I pray that you will ask somebody about it. That I know that we have pastors all over this room that would love to speak with you. But man, don't leave this place tonight without knowing Jesus Christ.
Man, well, Andy, I'm gonna stay right here.